Kyrgios' Wimbledon final opponent has been decided, and he'll have to overcome 20-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic on centre court tomorrow. The Joker is into what will be his 8th All-England final, prevailing in 4 sets over local hope Cameron Norrie. Speaking to Nine, Kyrgios dropped a bombshell in what has been a rocky relationship with the Serbian star.
I actually feel like he loves me now. We have a bit of a bromance ever since I kind of was the only player and only kind of colleague to stand up for him with everything happening back home in Australia around that time when he was, kind of put in the refugee hotel and had, a tough time there. I was the kind of only one that kind of stepped up and had his back.
As for preparations for the big match, Nick's revealed he's headed to the cinemas on the eve of his maiden Grand Slam final. He's going to catch the new Thor movie. To be the best at Wimbledon this year, Nick Kyrgios will have to beat the best. Novak Djokovic contesting a 7th Wimbledon crown, or for a 7th Wimbledon crown, and he says that could be an advantage ahead of tomorrow night. The Joker also gave his take on what had previously been a spiteful relationship with Nick Kyrgios.
I don't know if I can call it a bromance yet, but we definitely have a better relationship than what it was when it was really tough for me in Australia. He was one of the very few players that came out publicly and supported me and stood by me. So that's something I truly appreciate, and so I respect him for that a lot.
Centre court wasn't split in its support this morning, though. Great Britain's Cameron Norrie claiming an emphatic opening set before losing 2-6, 6-3, 6-2, 6-4. He said he could never win 7 Grand Slam matches in a row, and after all he's been through in his career, he might not have to. Nick Kyrgios will play Novak Djokovic in the men's final at Wimbledon. To discuss, Aussie tennis legend and host of Stan Sport's Grand Slam Daily Show's Wally Masur joins me now. Wally, firstly, can you believe Nick Kyrgios is a Wimbledon finalist?
In a sense, yes. And a big part of that for me, Charles, was when he arrived at Wimbledon, he played the 2 leading events, he looked fantastic physically. A lot of people talk about what emotional state will he be in, but this is as fit as I've seen him in a long time, and I think that gives you a lot of confidence, particularly in these 5-set encounters. Yeah,
we would have loved to have seen a 5th set between Novak and Cameron Norrie just to push the Serbian that little bit longer and keep him out on court. He looks in pretty good touch still, doesn't he?
Yeah, what was interesting, though, and John McEnroe in commentary, he said, look, Novak turfed out of Australia, he's not allowed into the States. He's got an eye on history. Obviously, he's chasing Rafa's 22 titles, Grand Slam titles. Every Grand Slam that he plays, there's a greater weight on his shoulders, I feel. And, John made the comment. He played that first set very tight against Norrie. He certainly found his feet. It was similar against Jannik Sinner.
Yeah.
Started slowly, gathered momentum, found belief. If he doesn't have that kind of trust and belief against Nick with all the firepower that he possesses, he's going to be in trouble.
It feels like one of those matches too where if Nick wins the first set, that will just build momentum and confidence in his first Grand Slam final. Right?
Yeah, and look, Nick spoke about not sleeping particularly well, I think because he didn't get to play Rafa. He would have been so wound to play, so he had no outlet, no physical outlet, so he's pretty wound, but he's got 2 nights to sleep on it. Let's hope he sleeps well before this one.
After that Tsitsipas match, we've seen a pretty relaxed and quite calm Nick Kyrgios on court.
And I think that's because he feels he's got the game to control. The opponents are in front of him. Tsitsipas, of course, was a stumbling block, and Nick knew it, and he was elevated and agitated to a degree, and he wanted to really put his stamp on that one.
Novak's played 31 Grand Times in finals, I think 20 wins. How do you combat that experience?
Well, you can't. You can't. And you've almost got to hope that Novak is just on that little downhill curve of his career. Let's face it, he's well into his 30s. He's achieved everything there is into the game. We're still yet to see the best of Nick Kyrgios, and this final could be the day.
Nick spoke to our own Tony Jones this morning at Wimbledon. It's a really great interview, and in it he mentioned that Lleyton Hewitt has been effectively the only former Australian tennis player checking in on him. Are you surprised by that?
I guess, Cashy went hard during a match. He was commentating and he kind of doubled down post that match. Look, outside of that, I think everyone is really excited about what Nick's doing. It is so rare, as you know, that we get Australian men in finals, in Grand Slam finals, and let alone without the chance to win it. Lleyton Hewitt is actually there as in his role as Davis Cup captain. So outside of the actual ties, he spends 8 to 10 weeks on the road with the players to cement those relationships and learn more about the individual in their game. So he's there, sort of as a Tennis Australia resource to help Nick.
Yeah.
But look, at the end of the day, I think, judging by the press and the interest, I think there's a lot of Australians want Nick to do that.
Yeah, I guess Mark Philippoussis was in the Tsitsipas box when he was playing against
Being
him.
paid professionally, though, by Tsitsipas, and that was a little awkward.
Yeah.
But, you know, tennis is a business, and certainly post-career, everyone's, you know, whether it be in the media or potentially coaching a player, yeah, everyone's looking for a paycheck.
Speaking of post-career, Nick has said if he wins at Wimbledon, he'd like to take some time off and get away from it all. Now, obviously, he's got some personal things to deal with and some pretty serious personal things to deal with back in Australia. But is there any chance he could do an Ash Barty and this could be the last we see of him?
Not impossible. Not impossible. You would sort of think that with the big four, the changing of the guard, Nick is someone who could amass more Grand Slam titles. But we thought that about Ash. Ash was only getting better. So that's maybe not his motivation. Maybe money's not his motivation. We will have to wait and see. But it's not impossible. I kind of thought about that even before he articulated it.
It's amazing. A prediction?
I'm going to say Nick is going to win it.
Wow.
Because I think there are areas of Novak's game that he can exploit. And I've seen little chinks in Novak's armour at this year's Wimbledon and at the French, where he had Rafa in situations where I thought normally he would just put the foot down and close it out. He couldn't do it. I don't think he's quite the same player that he was pre-COVID, and certainly this year when he's had a truncated schedule.
It's going to make for fascinating viewing. Great to speak to you this morning. And, of course, you can watch all the action from Wimbledon on Stan Sport and every match streaming live in 4K Ultra HD and here on 9 as well. Can't wait. Belinda.